Okay, so we're good to go, Heather?
We'll just wait for the recording. Okay, Madam Chair, you do have quorum with 8 members here. You are good to go.
Thank you very much, Heather, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience and for joining us today on this beautiful sunny morning. And we will move right into the agenda, calling this meeting to order at 8:38 on the 5th of May. And I will ask if there is any declaration of interest around the virtual table this morning. Heather, I'll rely on you to let me know if you see any hands. And none declared. Thank you very much. Noting that if anyone needs to, they can declare at any point in time during the meeting. So we will move right into the reports. We do have a motion before us on the investment strategy, but we will have a presentation prior to discussion on that motion. So I will turn the floor over to Savannah.
Savannah. Madam Chair, if we're going to go right from the presentation into the report, then I will need the motion on the floor.
Thank you, Heather. Then I will ask for a mover. Thank you very much, Councillor Woodbury. And could I have a seconder to put the motion on the floor?
I see Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutchison. My apologies. And now we will move into the presentation.
Thank you so much, Shirley. I'm going to get Steve to introduce Jerry because he is the one who spends the lion's share with our friends at Think Compass. So I'm going to hand it right over to him, and then I will work on sharing my screen. It's been a long time since I did that.
Right. Thank you, Savannah. Thank you, everybody. So just want to introduce our Jerry Przewalski. Did I do your
good,
Jerry? Good. All right.
Very nice.
So Jerry works for Think Canada. And I don't know if some of your colleagues are on the call as well, but significant experience in foreign direct investments over a number of years. And if you ever have time, maybe not right now, Jerry, but can talk about all the different experiences you've gone through and the success you've had over many years, working not only in smaller communities, but with the Toronto and around the world. And it always amazes me the contacts that you have around the world and really been opening our eyes the last number of years. So with that said, we secured some funding last year from the federal government, and we undertook this strategy. And so I'll let Jerry introduce the strategy, the draft report, and for everyone to look forward to it. Jerry.
Thanks very much, Steve, and good morning to everyone. Really a pleasure to be here, and I know that 2 of my colleagues are on the line as well, Tony Romano and Luigi Presta. So let's get into it. I think this morning, what we're doing this morning is going to provide you with a bit of an overview of the work that we've been doing on the investment attraction strategy and share with you some of our thinking and some of our ideas, the goals, objectives, strategies, and the implementation schedule. So without any further ado, could we just, next slide, please, Savannah? The presentation is going to focus on 5 areas, as I mentioned: background and introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats within Grey County. And then look at how we're going to build on strengths and leverage opportunities, the sectors that we think are of interest, where our particular interest in the county. Also, through the analysis and through the research and conversations with staff, we came up with 6 investment attraction goals, which essentially set the stage for developing the objectives, strategy, and the implementation schedule. Next slide, please. Background and introduction. I think it goes without saying that communities like Grey County are in constant competition for investment. And this competition occurs every time a family decides to move in or out, an employer decides to start up or downsize, expand, or relocate a business, a government department decides to move, a tourist decides to spend a weekend, and a customer decides where to shop. And those decisions are generally driven by a community's value proposition. So what are the values? What's the competition for that activity? What are the options for that activity? And locational advantages and disadvantages are constantly changing as international, national, regional, and local conditions change. And clearly, the impact of COVID-19 has shown us that what was once the norm in 2019 really changed significantly in 2020 and 2021, especially the advent of virtual remote working. Next slide, please. EDOs have a limited set of tools to influence these choices. And really, they only have two tools. One is business retention and expansion. And that's an important tool because it helps EDOs work with the community, work with businesses in the community, talk about retaining the investment and helping and encouraging that investment to expand. The other tool is investment attraction itself, where you're looking at essentially companies that are not in the area that you want to have a conversation with because you know that they're looking to expand their operations and you want them to consider Grey County as a location for that investment because you have strengths and opportunities and a value proposition that will help them deal with some of the issues that they're facing. But the linchpin around those two tools is really investment. And investment is a big factor in retaining and helping businesses to expand. And it's a key factor in investment attraction. Next slide, please. People talk about new investment and they say, well, you know, what does it do? What does it do for local businesses? And it helps local businesses a number of ways, through exports, through new talent, competition, technology transfer, scale effects, and improved inputs. In terms of exports, you have new global distribution networks and new markets. And as companies come in, they can help local businesses export more efficiently. New talent, local businesses can hire spouses brought to the area by new businesses and may have greater access to people with multinational corporate experience. In the area of competition, increased competition encourages local businesses to operate more efficiently, which boosts their own productivity. Technology transfer, local businesses can transfer new technology brought in by some of these new companies or techniques to improve their operations. They can supply new multinational companies with goods and services, so it improves their bottom line and their economy of scale. Or at the same time, they can purchase higher quality inputs at lower costs from a multinational company. So new investment coming into the community not only creates jobs and opportunities, it brings in new jobs and opportunities, but it creates opportunities for existing businesses in the community. Next slide, please. Investment attraction strategy, interestingly, was really built on a couple of things that had already occurred within the county. We kind of looked at what was going on and what was driving decisions. And we realized that the county's new official plan and its previous economic development strategy were really two key drivers that informed the investment strategy. When we looked at the official plan, we saw that it adopted 5 key themes that either touch on or deal directly with the need for investment. Cultivate Grey, develop Grey, natural Grey, live Grey, move Grey. All of those themes had economic development elements within them. The county's previous economic development strategy focused on investment readiness. And this strategy builds on the branding, inventory, and labor force work that had already been completed. Next slide, please. Now, let's look a little bit at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. On the strength side, we have availability of land for development, proximity to natural features like the Bruce Peninsula, Beaver Valley, Georgian Bay, the Wyerton International Airport, support of local communities and municipalities, a well-developed manufacturing base, a superb quality of life, You have the ability to leverage Canada's unique value proposition and to leverage the services from the Canada's trade commissioners. Next slide, please. In terms of weaknesses, there's the appearance of a tight labor market. Affordable housing is in short supply, but that's an issue that a lot of communities are facing. Lack of visibility in key markets, lack of an effective and compelling value proposition, accessibility to the 400 series highways, and the inability of communities to collaborate on a set of common economic development objectives. Next slide. In terms of opportunities, there's a number. Development of renewable energy projects. The rising cost of doing business in the GTHA is encouraging companies to consider maybe relocating or expanding a portion of their operations. So is the rising cost of living in the GTHA. We've seen that as a result of COVID and the influx of people into your community. The downside of that clearly was the uptick in real estate costs. Growth and popularity of working virtually. You know, geography is now not part of the equation. People can work virtually anywhere. And that gives them extreme flexibility and gives companies extreme flexibility. Updating marketing and communication website and the collateral material. And the strong US market that is rebounding from the effects of COVID-19 are all opportunities that we need to consider. Next slide, please. In terms of threat, competition from other jurisdictions. Competition for investment is enormous. There are agencies and organizations forming on a daily basis, focusing on nothing else but investment attraction. The inability to differentiate Grey County from the competition. Insufficient resources to respond to potential investors in a timely and effective manner. Lack of suitable land for industrial development. Inability to mitigate the issue around affordable housing. And lack of a regional focus that addresses individual community needs. Next slide, please. But through all of that, we identified a number of opportunities and where we could build on these opportunities and leverage strengths. So I'm just trying to move this around a bit here. On the agri-food side, there are large parcels of land, zone rural development with abundance of water, access to Georgian Bay, and a good list of food processors in areas such as apples, turkeys, ice cream, beef, and dairy. You have clean technology opportunities, Bruce Life Extension MCR program, nuclear waste management storage, nuclear waste storage, isotopes and medical innovation, hydrogen, novel hydroelectric development. All of these investments, all of these projects potentially engage existing businesses, but they will also attract investment from abroad. Knowledge-based industries, knowledge-based opportunities. The increase in remote working resulting in an uptick in knowledge workers residing in the county. The opportunity to target companies that can operate remotely, leveraging the area's natural attributes and quality of life. I mean, the interesting thing is, if you've noticed the advertisements from Nova Scotia and some of the other communities, there's a real focus on quality of life, on the life-work balance and the potential to achieve that. And where pre-COVID, we used to say everybody has a great quality of life. Post-COVID, that becomes much more of a competitive advantage. And then on the tourism side, there's an abundance of natural features that lead to unique tourism experiences, which coupled with quality of life advantages can be leveraged to attract investment, including the film and TV industry. Next slide, please. Investment attraction goals. The strategy identified 6 key investment attraction goals. First goal was work with local business community to encourage and support their commitment to invest, expand, and create jobs and support the efforts of the Economic, Tourism, and Cultural Department. Second goal was to enhance and promote Grey County's presence in the global market. Third goal, convince potential international investors in sectors such as advanced manufacturing, food processing, and clean technology that Grey County is the best place to locate in North America. Market Grey County as a preferred location for investment in these key sectors: advanced manufacturing, food processing, and clean technology. Engage with public and private sector organizations to build partnerships that will promote Grey County as an attractive location for investment and position Grey County and its member communities as being investment ready. Next slide. So when we looked at these goals, they were really the basis or created a foundation for a series of objectives and strategies. So the first goal, where it focuses on working with the local business community, the objectives were to build and maintain good relationships with existing businesses in Grey County. One of the strategies, build a database of local companies and target relationship building efforts on companies in key industry sectors. Second objective, to develop initiatives aimed at improving business retention. Start interviewing businesses in key industry sectors to identify the challenges they face and develop solutions to enhance retention efforts. Third, to identify existing businesses with potential for new investment or expansion. Engage with the business community to identify those companies that are considering a new investment or an expansion and determine the likelihood that they will remain in their current location. The green, sorry, you're a little too fast. You could go back a bit. I was just going to say that the green indicates initiatives that the Economic Development Department in Grey County is going to start or is currently engaged in. So those activities are starting off in year one. But this goal here and this combination of objectives and strategies is really looking at the whole notion of business expansion, business retention. But also it's an opportunity to collect intelligence on what other opportunities might be available to attract investment into the area. Are there supply chain requirements by existing businesses that the Economic Development Department could begin focusing on? Next slide, please. Enhance and promote Grey County's presence in the global market. Assign and maintain financial administrative resources to internationally promote Grey County on an ongoing basis. Allocate dedicated resources to the Economic Development Division in support of ongoing investment attraction activities. I mean, bottom line, if you want to do investment attraction, there is a cost associated with it. There is an investment that needs to be made. But the conference board did an analysis a couple of years ago, and they basically came to the conclusion that for every dollar invested, it generated about $3.50 in return. So it's not a bad investment to put money into this area. Next slide, please. Third goal is to convince potential international investors in the key sectors that Grey County is the best place to locate in North America. So the objective is to increase the number and quality of leads in the Grey County lead funnel. So generate business investment leads through targeted marketing and business development missions. And then focus on industry sectors and companies that employ skilled and knowledge-intensive workers. The second objective is to increase the number of new investments that land in Grey County. So develop a unique value proposition that addresses the hot button issues of industry. The value proposition, there's a general portion to it, but then there's a unique portion to it that focuses on the business that you're trying to attract. What are the issues that they're facing? And how can Grey County help them solve those issues? To increase the dollar value of investment attracted to Grey County is the third objective. So the focus is on mid-sized companies that have the resources to expand and establish new operations. Next slide, please. Fourth goal is to market Grey County as a preferred location. Objectives: to build investment-ready business cases that substantiate the advantages of expanding into Grey County. So the notion here, and this ties back to the value proposition, is to research and develop in-depth investment business cases, IBCs, that focus on those key sectors. So what are the opportunities that you're going to bring to the business community? And what are the opportunities that you can use to help build or to help develop your presence in the market? So these IBCs are not only of interest, would not only be of interest to the business community, but also to the Canadian Post, to the consulates, and to the folks that are engaged in investment attraction at the federal and also at the provincial level, so that they have something to talk about to their business community. Make foreign investors aware of the business opportunities that exist in Grey County. So present the IBCs to potential investors and investment intermediaries as part of the investment attraction mission. Educate investment influencers on the funnel of business opportunities in primary employment sectors: manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, accommodation, and food services. To increase the awareness of Grey County's IBCs, meet with foreign intermediaries, Canadian Post, and other investment influencers, making them aware of the opportunities that are available in Grey County. Next slide, please. Engage with public and private sector organizations to build partnerships to promote Grey as an attractive location for investment. So make provincial and federal governments aware of the county's advantages as premier investment destination and a place to do business. Work with provincial ministries like OMAFRA and the Ministry of Economic Development and federal departments and the consulates to improve Grey County's recognition as an investment destination for advanced manufacturing, agribusiness, food processing, and renewable energy technologies. Leverage existing organizations that focus on investment attraction. So here, the plan here, the strategy here is join pan-regional agencies with a mandate to attract investment in your key industry sectors, such as maybe the Ontario Food Cluster, or join the Economic Developers Council of Ontario and some of their initiatives at investment attraction. Just a sidebar on this, I mean, people kind of look at this and they wonder and they say, well, you know, I'm not sure that we can do this. But there's examples. I mean, the Southwestern Ontario Marketing Alliance is a great example of 3 communities that years ago got together. Woodstock, Stratford, and St. Thomas got together and decided that they wanted to collectively market internationally as the Southwestern Ontario Marketing Alliance. And they became very, very successful, and they went around the world, and they continue to do so. They started that in the 90s. And the partnership has changed over the years. But interestingly, whilst Middlesex County was a partner at one time, London never was a partner. And they started off in automotive, and now they're moving into food processing and technology. And they're recognized and they're known. And when I worked at the GTMA, I'd come across them at all the major trade shows and conferences, and they were very, and they are very effective. So there's no reason why Grey County can't do something similar. Next slide, please. Position Grey County and its member communities investment ready. But one of the things about SOMA, I just have to jump back into this, is that they came to the table sharing the same objectives, sharing the same values. They were a partnership, they were a team. And I think that's really important to develop cohesive support for collectively shared priorities. And that's what they did. So you want to develop an articulated vision and role at the local level regarding investment attraction. So what are the local communities going to do? And adopt a collective and cohesive effort towards economic development, both at the local and county level. And then the second goal here is to enhance Grey County's effectiveness in providing investment aftercare and support for investment promotion initiatives. I mean, we call this the soft landing program. So there's two elements to it: initiate an investment attraction training program to build a team, but then also develop a soft landing program, leveraging local service providers to help them help new investors understand how to do business in Grey County. Next slide, please. The last slide. Thank you. Questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I will let you know that we have lost quorum. Ashley Chapman has had to leave. So we can answer general questions from the committee members, but we can't proceed any further with a recommendation or moving the business of the county ahead at all. I think with Savannah and Randy, they're going to bring the report directly to Committee of the Whole for consideration. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. And once the questions are complete related to the presentation, then we will need to adjourn the meeting and have it the rest of it rescheduled.
Heather, thank you for that, but I'm sorry to hear that news. Okay, so we will begin with questions then for Jerry and our staff in relation to the report we have just heard. And I see Councillor Body with his hand up.
Thank you very much. Jerry, are those the worst threats you could come up with? Those aren't bad. Like, I think we're sitting pretty if that's sort of the worst things, which that was one of the things that stood out. Reading your whole report, I did notice it where you talked about, I think, arts and culture. You referred to the ski hill in the town of Blue, which I think kind of misses a whole lot on culture when you've got people like Tom Thompson buried here, and an art gallery, and so many other arts and cultural things, symphonies that are 50 years old, and theater that's 50 years old. Like, culture is so much bigger right across Grey County, and some pretty amazing historic people that are born all through the county. So, well, no, I think that is, I was going to say not that matters, but I think it does matter in a sense that certainly our heritage and our culture throughout Grey County and the famous people that have come from here and changed the world is perhaps one of those things that we can wave and be part of this. But again, I like the recommendations and everything that's there. That was just one little thing that jumped out in my head. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Body, and we'll move over to Councillor Bourguignon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in regards to the threats, I see the lack of land or zoned land properly. I know we're finding that an issue in TBM for. We actually had a manufacturing plant that wanted to set up. We just couldn't find the land, and ended up going to Simcoe and to Collingwood. So I think that is a large threat, you know, especially being able to get whether it's industrial lands or whatever the case may be, zoning. So that's something I think each municipality can work on within Grey to help be I guess shovel ready. I guess because I do see that as a threat. So I know firsthand we lost a great opportunity because we just couldn't service them. So that's something I think we should be all cognizant of, and I know we are at the town. So thanks for identifying that.
Thank you. And if I may, I'll jump in with a question for Jerry. I noticed in the SWOT and in the goals, I didn't see broadband mentioned, and I'm wondering if that's included or implied in another point, or do we feel as a county that we are in a significant enough position with the plans that we have in place to achieve broadband across the county? Because there is a lot of mention of agriculture, and we know we've got some rural areas that are yet under service. So I just wonder your thoughts on that, Jerry.
I mean, I think broadband is becoming like, I think from an investment attraction, businesses assume that you have great broadband and great fiber. And you're going to have that, not just for the businesses that you currently have in terms of manufacturing and IT, the obvious ones, but also when you look at the agricultural community, it's starting to become, if it hasn't already become, highly dependent on information technology. So you have computer control, you have a whole host of technologies that are getting involved on the agricultural side that are dependent on that. And if you don't have fiber, it's like zoned industrial land. I mean, the expectation is there, and if you don't have it, and if you're not properly serviced, that's an issue, and you need to get it done, because not having it means that you're not investment ready. There's no two ways about it. People are working remotely. They're looking at options. Companies are heavily dependent on fiber, and communities that don't have it are going to lose out.
So do you feel, Jerry, that should be mentioned in the SWOT perhaps?
It could be, but I think we can include it. We could include it, but I think it's in there. I guess it's in there insofar as there's an expectation that those services are available. And it's not clear to me if is it inconsistency in the servicing, or or are you consistently poorly served? It's not something that came up essentially in our conversations.
No. So I'll certainly leave it to staff to continue that conversation with you. And while you have the floor, Jerry, did you wish to comment on the points made by Councillors Body and Burkenwell?
I think clearly on the zoned industrial land, you need to have zoned industrial land, and you have to be shovel ready to be effective in investment attraction. I mean, it's pointless if you don't have industrial land to begin trying to attract new investment. You need to have that. You need to have a place for those companies to locate. But it doesn't, in some instances, doesn't need to necessarily be raw land. You could have vacant buildings. You could have buildings that could be, the use could be rezoned. So you may have that flexibility. In terms of the arts and culture, really our focus was on industries that were looking at IT, manufacturing, food processing, those kinds of industries. I think the point that Councillor made was a great one. I agree, but it's something that can be leveraged as part of the tourism-related investment activities.
Thank you. Heather, are there more questions? I'm just not seeing everyone.
I don't see any more, Madam Chair.
Any other? Then I'll ask another one, if I may, probably more so for staff, for Steve and Savannah. Thinking of our CAIP plan, which is amazing, and the business mix analysis that you're undertaking, could you just speak a little bit about how those programs tie in with the investment strategy that we have just heard about this morning?
Sure, absolutely. The community improvement plan, that is definitely one of those first investment readiness pieces that we needed to get in place. That's that policy work and the incentives that will now be available as we are going out to be able to attract. So those tools exist because of all of work that all of our communities have done together. So that is absolutely a piece that we will leverage when we are looking to do the attraction and build out that supply chain. And on the business mix analysis side, that fits in as well, because it's that quality of life and making sure that we have vibrant downtowns where people want to be and they want to explore and they want to support local, because we know that COVID has really kind of reinforced the message that, downtowns are really important and they're a wonderful place to gather and they're full of wonderful small businesses, and that fits that quality of life aspect. And that's where we find the arts and the culture and the restaurants and those areas to gather. So all of those pieces fit in as part of that investment readiness work that's been done to this point. So we're really pleased to be able to say that we are at a point now where we can start to look at investment attraction really purposefully, because if you would have asked us this 5 years ago, we said, no, we weren't ready. We didn't have the policies in place. We didn't have the other work that needed to be done. And that's what we've spent the last 5 years doing together as all of Grey County with all of our member municipalities. So now that that is there, we can take the next step and then we can draw on those pieces to start advancing the actual attraction side of things.
And I can tell you're really excited about that, Savannah, and thinking of the international connections and opportunities that could come to Grey, and the Green Energy Frontier comes to mind as well, and the potential through that organization to attract. So yeah, it's exciting times ahead for sure. Councillor Bourguignon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just touching on what Councillor Boddy said, I agree with him wholeheartedly, and it's strange for me to say that being within Blue Mountains, but we even have a divide ourselves, from the 705 to the 519. The mountain is on the furthest east side, and then downtown Thornbury. So when everybody's visiting, we say we have downtown Thornbury, and we actually say go over to Meaford, because those are sort of the two local downtowns close to us. And then there's so much great things further west. We've called Clarksburg now Artsburg because of the arts and culture, and so we really have we almost define ourselves separately when the Indian Brook River crosses, like I said, the 705 to the 519. So to Councillor Boddy's point, there's so much more than the mountain itself. The mountain itself is it's a world-class entity, but just the beauty of Grey County heading west, starting in the 519, starting from our town, right, blends beautifully into yours, and then further west. So I think that's a very good point that he brought up, how it's nothing can be one thing centric, and the arts and culture aspect of Grey I find very interesting. We're a big proponent of pushing the arts, especially, like I said, even nobody even calls it Clarksburg, we all call it Artsburg now. So that was a good point that the councillor brought up. I want him to know that we're on board with that.
I really appreciate that, and certainly from my perspective here in Meaford, we couldn't agree more with our Meaford Hall, and we've developed a substantial arts community as well, and music. The number of incredibly talented musicians that we have living locally is just amazing. And bringing all of that on board and together and thinking of how we can grow that. I saw film mentioned as an opportunity, and perhaps there's a connection there to start to tie that together, because it seems that we're attracting more artists all the time. We have a display now in our gallery that's all local artists, and it's really, really special. So thank you for reinforcing that point. And I see Savannah has her hand up.
Okay.
I have to have my hand up.
Thank you. And then, sorry, Jerry, I can see you waving too. I just wanted to say that I really, really love what you just said, Councillor Bourguignon. When we look at investment attraction and when we look at economic development as a whole, we're looking at all of Grey County and everything that every one of our municipalities and every one of our communities brings to the table, because we need that. When we're talking to investors, they want to know about what it would be like to live in Blue Mountains for their senior managers, and what it's like to be able to experience arts and culture downtown Owen Sound, and what it's like to be able to access Mennonite manufacturing in Southgate. So they're looking at the whole gamut, and that's really, really important for us, and something that we really hope that this strategy is demonstrating, and our commitment is demonstrating, is that we all need to be working together. We all need to be understanding the benefits and those opportunities that exist right across Grey, whether it's in our backyard or not, because they all make a real impact, and they will be the difference between our ability to land investment and not, when we are taking that much broader vision and that bigger Grey County hat, and understanding how individually and collectively all of our strengths will impact our ability to attract investment. So I really, really love what you said, and I just wanted to reinforce. So thank you.
And thank you for that, Savannah, because I think what I'm hearing you suggest that we as lower tiers have some responsibility in this as well, and that we need to make sure that the Grey County Economic Development Department is aware when we've got exciting new things coming into our own communities, because you can't possibly keep up with everything that's happening in every community. So there is an onus on us to make sure that we are communicating often and effectively with you. And I see Jerry has his hand up, and then Deputy Warden McQueen.
I just wanted to sort of reiterate a little bit on what's, I didn't know what Savannah was going to say, but it was clearly in line with my thinking. I mean, the comments with respect to the arts and culture that's currently in Grey County, and the comment regarding the availability of zoned land for development, those things are part and parcel of your value proposition. So when it is time to develop your unique value proposition, to tell people why they should invest in Grey County, how Grey County is different from other locations, those elements are some of the key elements that you're going to want to leverage. I mean, that's what's going to help differentiate you from other competing communities. And those comments with respect to quality of life, they feed into the quality of life. Those are all important and have become even more important now that you have people working remotely and people looking to find ways of balancing work and their life. So those essentially are, in my way of thinking, it's part of your competitive advantage. And I see those elements getting included most definitely in the UVPs. That to me is sort of the clear spot for them. And it's really how you're going to go out and speak to the various international investors or other investors, how you're going to make your point with the various investment influencers at the posts and at the province. So I think those two areas are really key, and I'm really kind of glad, like Savannah said, that you folks raised it. Thanks.
And I appreciate that, Jerry, because here in Meaford, we utilize the suggestion of quality of life and the ability for a balance within life as we focus on doctor recruitment, because we think that gives us an advantage and will hopefully encourage doctors to choose us. So we work with that. Thank you. Deputy Warden McQueen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good discussion. I want to zero in on the clean energy technology type side. I think we have a real opportunity there, just as we know where we're heading. Somebody was just mentioned about our manufacturing C4 plants, or however you want it, depending on which municipality you have. So we do sort of have a workforce that could, build some of that new technology if we just had the investment in designing or developing what that is. We look at our youth, and I know over the years of being in municipal government for a long time, we always talk about how do we keep our youth here, and it's high technology, and that I think there's a lot of opportunity and potential there. And so I look at a number of different things that you have identified, and I know Steve Finesse always has talked about it quite a bit, is in Grey Highlands, Southgate, a bit of West Grey, and other areas, we do have a workforce that does have those commercial abilities to build things. We have that advantage. So if we can try to market that, or have those conversations, or have a plan on that, I think, because that also helps support agriculture, because as we know, agriculture is it's struggle in itself to support that farm. It's that's always been the big thing in the sense of agriculture is the bottom line is you need a good revenue source to keep that farm going in a lot of cases, the family farm or however. But there's a community group that is in Grey County that has figured that out and is working within the community to build things and make things here locally. So I know, it's not new to the conversation that I'm having with others, but it's something that I think we could build on but also that technology and that ability with our youth and younger people to develop those technologies that then needs to be built by another sector, which then supports our local economy, which supports our local families, which supports a lot of things. And with transportation costs and everything as well, there's a lot of dynamics that are going on. And maybe I'm throwing out a lot of stuff here, but I just wonder if you could expand on that a little bit.
Sure. Actually, it's music to my ears, because in all my years of doing economic development, the first question that a company asks me, or a company president asks me, and that's really top of mind, is labor availability. I mean, everything is great, you've got a great lifestyle, everything, you've got land, you've got everything is going your way, but the first question that they ask is labor availability. And I think you have it. And I think it's not just a matter of the sort of the available labor, but it's also the programs that you have in place, like the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. Those kinds of initiatives where you're trying to create opportunities for young people and retain that youth in your community. I mean, it's a key thing, and it's something that you will develop and you will include in the value proposition. I mean, that's really part of your competitive advantage, how you deal and how you present that to the business community. So the fact that you have those resources, I mean, I know that, or at least I've heard that the Mennonite community I think there's about 400 of them at the last count, that are manufacturing products that are quite sophisticated, and some of them are even exporting those products. So that's a phenomenal resource, and it's a phenomenal competitive advantage. But the big thing about it is it helps you as a community differentiate yourself from everyone else, and that becomes key. That becomes the key factor. I mean, how is it that Grey County is different and unique and has all the advantages that can satisfy a potential investor as they're looking to expand their operations?
Just to follow up on that through you, Madam Chair, I know we had George College that, from an educational side as well, and I know they're ramping up their opportunities to do apprenticeship trades and training that way. But I think it's so key is to communicate and link. But I think it's got to start with our local schools, our local boards of education, and get that ingrained that we have opportunities here. And this is what, just as a real brief thing, way back when I was in high school, the shipyard used to be in Collingwood, and there was a delegation that went to the high schools saying, here's an opportunity, things are happening. Well, we know what happened with Collingwood shipyard. It's in 1985, they closed, but but still you need to have that opportunity or instill opportunity, because if you create opportunity for young people, then they can start to think about the opportunities locally instead of having to go away. So thank you for those comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I really like this discussion, and to me, it also ties in, of course, with the affordable housing, which is mentioned in the report. And I know that we won't get into that, but there's lots of work being done in that area, and we see it all now starting to come together. So that's it is very exciting. Savannah, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to say, when we look at our unique value propositions, and probably one of the biggest things that we've done for the investment readiness side is through Sydenham campus. And it's the work that's being done there to connect Georgian College and the school boards and our entrepreneurship side of things, and build that ecosystem out so that we have prototyping, we have training, we have all the parties together in one spot. And that goes a long way, especially on the business retention and expansion side, because that focus first and foremost is being able to promote and support the businesses that we have here today, so that they do have, the resources to be able to rely on. They have the connections, and with YMCA and they're delivering training programs as well. It's really fitting. And I think that that's something that we can certainly draw on as part of our value proposition, because Grey County's made a significant investment in that. And we were really committed to bringing all parties together and to not duplicating resources, so that we can see more success come out of the campus itself for our employers and for our entrepreneurs and right across the board. So I think that that is also going to be a key driver in what we're doing here through the investment attraction strategy. Because when we do talk to new businesses and current businesses about what it is that we're doing at Sydenham, they get really excited because they know that we're doing that specifically for them. So that is another key that not many communities can be able to say that they've invested in, and they have ready to go. So another kudos to Grey County Council and everyone for getting us to where we are with Sydenham.
It's such a proud moment, Savannah, and just taking an opportunity to congratulate you and your team for all of your efforts. And I will always think of you as you spoke about being in there with brooms and dustpans and paintbrushes and getting that facility ready, and look where it is today and the businesses that you're helping. So I do hope that it is one of the initiatives that you are most proud of in all that you've accomplished. And Deputy Warden McQueen.
Yes, Madam Chair, and you're right. This gets a lot of conversations flowing, which I like as well. And I'm think back to Savannah, but Jacinda, with regards to I'm trying to think what it was called, where the kids came to that, and we gave some money as Grey County, and that was an opportunity to expose young kids to different kinds of trades and stuff. I'm trying to think what it's called. I know somebody will throw it out there, but I know I attended that, and maybe that's something we as Grey County need to expand on in other communities as well. In concert with the school boards, because it's a good investment where kids were brought together, they were showing stuff and opportunities, and it just escapes me to the name. So maybe through you, Madam Chair, maybe Jacinda could talk about that.
Is Jacinda with us?
Yes, I'm here. Through you, Madam Chair. I can't think of. Are you talking about Launchpad, or are you talking about a program?
Yes, Launchpad.
Okay. Yes. And actually, I just wanted to comment. Connecting with youth has always kind of been within our portfolio or our mandate to attract and connect with the students through the school board. But I just wanted to mention that when we had our employer consultation a few weeks ago now, I guess. One of the biggest trends was employers really asking and wanting to invest in youth. And I'm going to say that typically that's not usually that common, but employers are really looking outside the box and really trying to attract their workforce in different ways. They're also looking at, and I was going to mention this before, they're looking at ways in which they can attract internationally skilled workers. They're seeing the potential for return on investment in putting money forth with a private institution or a private worker in immigration consulting, and seeing the value in maybe getting those skilled workers to their workplace, and also even looking into kind of mass hiring for general laborers and looking into how they can do that through the international channels. So that is definitely, trying to get into the school boards, trying to get into the schools, and looking at attracting and retaining international skilled workers has been definitely a trend with the employers over the past year with our workforce challenges.
That is absolutely great news, Jacinda. Thank you. Heather, am I missing any hands?
I don't see any, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity. Is there any further discussion while we have Jerry with us and staff on the report that we've heard this morning? Deputy Warden McQueen?
Yeah, I just wonder if the representatives from Think Compass, I know Tony, you're on here, and Luigi, I just don't know if you have any comments with regards to your input, and I always like to draw out everybody's comments, so I just leave it at that discretion, Madam Chair.
Yes, absolutely. If Luigi and Tony would like to comment, please do.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Mayor McQueen. I was listening to all the comments made right here, and we just had a 45-minute work session on how best to develop a unique value proposition for Grey County, which is terrific. I mean, this is really the foundation of starting to do investment attraction. And from my experience, you're never going to get the full inventory of assets to be able to satisfy investors, but you want to get as close as possible to it. I remember having a client come in the GTA, and they were coming in for a week and doing a soft landing program, and we were thinking about which business are we going to introduce them to, which government officials and so forth. At the end of the day, he said, I want to be able to experience what my family would experience day to day, going to the mall, going to the school. Because at the end of the day, investment attraction, as much as it's about, business inputs, it's about people. It's about people investing in the community. And you have to be ready to respond to that. And so the best way to do it is to get the collective assets of all your communities and be able to position that as your value proposition. And that's what I'm hearing right now when you're talking about land and labor, technology, culture, heritage, broadband, Mennonite community, Georgian college. Those are assets that you have available to you to go out and take internationally as well as nationally. So I'm glad that we're having this discussion, which I think is going to be your foundation to begin to launch the strategic plan that we've worked on over the past year. So it's great to hear. That's perfect.
Thank you for that, Tony. I really appreciate your approach of thinking of the family, because I agree with you. You are attracting not just the person who's going to open the plant, but yes, everyone that he brings with him or she. Oh,
exactly. Their spouse, their children who are going to go to school. And so they want to experience, what is the day-to-day living like in the community? So you have to be ready, and you've got the perfect formula for that. So you're ahead of the game from that standpoint. There are other things that, I must admit we need to work on, but that'll come over time.
Well, we certainly agree with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I see Warden McQueen has his hand up, Deputy Warden McQueen, but did Luigi have anything to add? And then we'll come back to the Deputy Warden.
I'm okay at this time. Thank you.
Okay. So Deputy Warden McQueen.
So I'm going to put the challenge out there for all that's listening here today that I think we need to elevate this and create a buzz. I know when we created the Ag 4.0, 4.1, 4.2, that created quite a buzz on the agricultural side in Grey County. And I don't know, Madam CEO or anybody else on this call, I think we need to have a forum about Grey County and why Grey County is what Grey County is, and bring all the assets to a 2-day thing and make Grey County noticed and Ontario and maybe Canada and maybe international. I think we got to create a buzz here and what we're all about, what we are looking at, and where that steps along here, through developing a strategy and stuff. But I think at some point, like I said, I put the challenge out there that we need to step up here and create that buzz. I don't know if there's any comments there.
CAO Wingrove, would you like to comment?
Thanks so much. And I certainly marketing, promotion, community engagement are all really critical success factors to any strategy that we put forward. So I think that, we are going to take that suggestion and recommendation forward as we make the future plans about this, and as we engage all of our other community partners, our member municipalities and others who have a big stake in economic development. I think something like that is successful if you have a number of voices around the table all kind of wanting to move things in the same direction. So I think it would take a bit of doing, but I think it's a wonderful suggestion and potentially a way to showcase the people that have already made a decision to be here and have been successful here. I think that's what we've tried to do with Made in Gray and other things, but perhaps there are more future focused ways to amp up that message. So Savannah's listening hard, and so is Randy.
Terrific. So we'll look forward to further discussion on that. I see Heather has her hand raised.
Madam Chair, I'm pleased to announce that John Kervink has joined us. So we do have a quorum here and we can continue with the meeting.
Yay!
Yes.
Thank you, John.
Madam Chair, I just had to talk long enough. That's why.
Yeah. So I thought we'll just take our time and discuss this report because it was just such an extensive and interesting and exciting report. So the discussion really has been wonderful. And now that we have quorum, is there anyone else who wanted to speak to the report before we go back to the motion on the floor? And Heather, seeing no hands? Okay, so we'll go back to the motion. We did have a mover and a seconder. And is there any further discussion on the motion itself, which is that we receive the investment attraction strategy and that staff be directed to develop and execute the first mission as per the 2022 contribution agreement for CanExport Community Investment Subprogram, and that staff maintain the relationship with Think Compass and enter an annual contract to execute the 3-year strategic action plan alongside staff as per annual budget approval. So if there's no further discussion on that as presented, I will ask for an all in favor. All in favor? And Heather is nodding. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is roundtable discussion, but I kind of think we just had a pretty good roundtable, unless there's anything anyone else would like to add in relation to roundtable discussion at this point in time.
I think Councillor Body has his hand up.
Thank you, Randy. Councillor Body.
Just want to share with everybody that Steve Furness and I went to the Canadian Nuclear Association conference in Ottawa. I think Gray's staff have been there a few years ago, but we haven't been there kind of consistently for a little while. And it was a very good experience to talk to many people about things like isotopes and small nuclear reactors and energy storage and hydrogen and all those things. And, you know, in a nutshell, we're pretty lucky to have Bruce Power next door. And we've got lots of opportunities coming out of that, which Jerry just kind of caught a corner of that as well, that is going to give us opportunities. So it was a good meeting for Steve and I to attend. And I think we've got lots of opportunities going forward that have kind of fallen into our lap. So I shouldn't say they've fallen into our lap. You know, 15 years ago, when we talked about clean energy, there's a lot of argument that if we try and get off of the carbon-based economy, the economy will collapse. And others argued that in the future, we'll have different opportunities with clean energy, and that future is here now. And we're sitting in the right place geographically and in time. So that was one of the things that came out of that conference, that I think we're right on the cusp of great opportunities here, right across Great Bruce Huron, but especially here. So thanks.
No, and thank you, Councillor Body. That's really, I'm really glad that you attended that conference. And don't forget to give yourself a pat on the back, Mayor Body. You've done a great job of attracting to Owen Sound. So well done. Anything else for roundtable discussion? And if not, we'll move into other business. First item, job fairs. Jacinda, would you like to speak to those?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to give a brief outline of the job fairs that we posted in the past. And over the past few years, and in partnership, we posted quite a few annual regional job fairs. And the participation has consistently increased from about 400 to over 1,000 participants in February 2020. So that was right before the pandemic. And then this past March, April, we decided to host 3 job fairs that were spread out throughout Grey County. So there was Hanover, Owen Sound, and Meaford. And the participation definitely has changed. In Hanover, we had 79 people attend. In Owen Sound, we had about 160 people attend. And then Meaford, 52 people attended. So, you know, there's a total of just under, I think, 300 it was. 300 participants. That number is definitely significantly lower than normally. And, maybe some of the COVID concerns and attending something in person might have impacted the numbers, but it's hard not to consider the numbers being so low. As I mentioned before, employers are really trying to address their workforce challenges in different ways. And young people are definitely one of the population groups that they're looking at. They want to try and get in with the schools, and they want to try and get in early so that they can let youth know that there are opportunities here. Sure, you can go away, but if you come back, there are some opportunities, and not just. And some of the manufacturers we spoke to, they're talking about there are other jobs besides the general laborer, or start with our position and move up within our company. So they're highlighting the potential for moving up the ladder within their organization or their company. And then, like I mentioned before, just that they're also looking at internationally skilled workers. And something to consider, it does align really well with some of the cultural awareness and equity, diversity, inclusion training that we're doing, and connecting with employers to make sure that there's that cultural workplace that's addressed, and understanding that if we're looking to bring investment here, like it's been mentioned, it's a whole package. It's, what type of culture do we have? What type of resources? What type of, connections can they make when they get here? And then looking at the family as a whole as potential workforce options. Just with the participants that attended the job fair this past year, it's pretty consistent. About 50% came that are unemployed. And that's pretty consistent for the past few years pre-pandemic as well. But again, the numbers are really low, and we don't have those numbers, those bodies, the people to fill some of those positions, and employers are looking at different ways to address those challenges.
Thank you, Jacinda. And that really is such a concern for every single business trying to get people. And I would say in our Meaford Job Fair, even though the attendance was low, most of the businesses left with resumes. So that was encouraging. And I want to thank you, Jacinda, and your team for all of your efforts in organizing and promoting the fairs. And certainly there was a good turnout by the businesses, and there was opportunity for them to network and connect, which was enjoyed, I think. And hopefully going forward, we'll see more people coming out looking for work. But I think it was time well spent. Thank you.
It's a great team effort. Thank you.
Yeah. Any comments on the job fairs from anyone around the table? No. Thank you, Heather. The Great Bruce, I'm sorry, I missed B. Sydenham Campus and Business Enterprise Center update. Savannah?
Sorry, that will be Steve for Sydenham Campus and then Courtney for Business Enterprise Center.
Thank you.
I'll just give you a quick update on the Sydenham campus. So obviously the pandemic has impacted how fast we've been able to implement, but we're starting to gear up and achieve what was in the original business plan. So I think Savannah mentioned it earlier, but we still have the YMCA training going on in the healthcare sector. Catapult Grey Bruce, which is our business accelerator, is here. Small Business Enterprise Center. We now have a daycare that started in the east side, and hopefully it grows. Right now we have Elections Ontario here that's taken up a lot of space, and of course we gladly like their revenue. And then we've had lots of training going on as a facility. The gym is really a preferred place to do training. So I think the one day we had Owen Sound Parks and Rec, as well as Grey County Highways Department. It looked like a pickup truck convention here, but a lot of training going on. And if you happen to be around on May 12th, the Catholic School Board is holding their STEM competition, skills competition for youth in their high schools here. And we're gonna have about 300 kids descend. So that's exactly how we envision the building to be used. And then moving forward, we're getting very close to deciding and starting to buy equipment for our Fab Lab and our makerspace. But we're really making sure that we've talked to industry, that we've talked to Georgian College, and that we're getting the right equipment. And today I'm talking with a company that does prototyping, and that's all they do. So we want to make sure that we're getting the right 3D printers and other equipment so that it supports not just training, but our small business prototyping and entrepreneurship. So we're getting there, and I look forward to more public active engagement with activities now that we're getting on the other side of COVID. Thank you.
Steve, that's an incredible amount of progress over the past months, considering what you faced, as you say, with COVID. So congratulations and well done. And is there any comment or question from the committee members? And I've lost Heather, so if anyone wants to speak, please just speak up.
No, there isn't, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, and C, the Grey Bruce Local Immigration Partnership update. And
Madam Chair, sorry, I think Courtney Miller is going to provide an update on the Business Enterprise Center.
Oh, I apologize. Absolutely right. So that's part of point B. I apologize. Yes, Courtney.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll give you a quick update on what's happening over at the Business Enterprise Center and some of the trends we're seeing around entrepreneurship so far this year. So I would say our numbers are really on par with years previous as far as the volume of people come through the center. We're a little bit higher this year than last year. We've done just over 50 kind of one-on-one sit-down consultations with small business owners or those who are exploring entrepreneurship so far this year. We're seeing a lot more people in the kind of ideation or early stage than we have in years previous. So we always let our clients kind of dictate the services we offer and the training we offer. So we're doing a lot more work around kind of business plan development, helping them work through those ideas. I always say that my consultation is just as successful if I talk you out of entrepreneurship as if I support you in moving forward with entrepreneurship, because it's not an easy path. So there are a lot of those conversations happening, and I'm finding I'm doing a lot more referrals back to YMCA Employment Services and the supports they offer, having the conversation with individuals. Maybe it's not entrepreneurship that you need, maybe it's a different role in a workplace. So the conversations are always shifting here based on what we're seeing kind of the climate of the area. But the interest in entrepreneurship definitely isn't decreasing by any means. We just launched our Starter Company Plus program, which is our adult training and grant program. We have, I think, 23 businesses who are moving forward to the training portion of that program and representation from across Grey County. And then out of that, we will award 8 to 10 grants to support businesses that are moving forward and the best fit for the program. We are seeing our very typical kind of spread of sectors, those in the service industry, those in the trades. Not seeing any tourism businesses this year, which is the first year where we haven't had any come through. And I think that is likely just due to workforce. And, that industry is still a little bit behind and still playing catch up. So I think, that's going to take a little bit longer before we see the influx of those businesses coming back, as well as any of the kind of restaurant businesses. We're not really seeing those at the moment either. In regards to Summer Company, which is our youth training program, it is mostly full for this year. We have one space remaining in that program, but we have some really exciting youth-led businesses this year that we are excited to be supporting. Other than that, our plans for the fall are to move much more back into in-person programming. I think we talk a lot about this in economic development. We had such a mass migration to the area throughout the pandemic, but that retention doesn't happen unless those connections are made. And that's just as important in the small business community, perhaps even more important because they can support each other. So our fall programming is really going to look at bringing those people together in Sydenham and allowing them to make those connections in person. So that will be our focus for the fall.
Thank you, Courtney. And that really reminds me, as we just heard the report about investment attraction, of thinking of the many 70% of our businesses that are sole proprietorships and the networking possibilities. If anybody is looking to find a space to set up shop, we certainly can accommodate. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Courtney? And Heather says no. Okay, so now we'll move on to C, the Grey Bruce Local Immigration Partnership update. And who do we have to speak to that today?
Deepika.
Deepika, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. As I was listening to the discussion on investment strategies and value proposition, which is need to be applied to the entire community, I think, and it's a promise that we as Grey County making to any client who's thinking to invest in Grey County and any immigrant who's thinking to move to Grey County, that they will feel part of the community. And I see that a lot of GB LIP sections till now are pretty aligned with the potential recommendation given by Jerry. And the major focus on, social determinants of health, where we really focus on quality of life, collaboration with Southern Western Ontario LIPs, and discussing challenges with the employers and making Grey Bruce County visible at federal and provincial level. As we are in process, we already have those videos with us to share with IRCC what's available outside of GTA for any immigrants who are thinking to come to Canada. There are numerous initiatives which GB LIB is working on in partnership with organizations across Grey and Bruce. Out of them, the priority is on accommodating Ukrainian families coming to the region, and GB LIB, along with partner council members such as Welcoming Community Grey Bruce and YMCA, are trying to navigate the resources and requirements. We're also part of Support Ukraine task force for the town of Blue Mountains, where again we are trying to assign roles and responsibility within the group who have the capacity and resources to do whatever possible to accommodate. As IRCC has created the Canada-Ukrainian authorization for emergency travel measures, and through those measures, Ukrainian and their dependents will be able to work and study while in Canada for up to 3 years. So briefly explaining the work we have done past months, we collaborated with community organizations, employers, and municipal leaders to provide training and education to expand knowledge of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and introduce this practice into policies, processes, and everyday work life. We had different sectors involved in these initiatives. We conducted diversity dialogues with municipal leaders to initiate a conversation around JEDI, and where we need to understand the importance of engaging all municipalities, which will certainly build the foundation for a collaborative approach to cultivate inclusive and equitable culture within organizations and communities. Apart from this, we, in collaboration with Nuclear Innovation Institute, we conducted 5 training sessions where we which were offered to municipal staff across Grey and Bruce counties to learn more about and understand equity in practice, using inclusive language and promoting inclusive communities. We also had one small business inclusive workforce policy development workshop, which was hosted in partnership with Grey Bruce Small Business Enterprise Center to guide business owners and HR staff through the development process to create an inclusive workforce policy. And the major focus was on Train the Trainer project, which main purpose was to create facilitated workshops on justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion with region-specific content delivered for local residents. And these local residents are being trained for this project, representing a diverse array of identities, including folks who are newcomer, immigrant, LGBTQ community, and Indigenous community, among other diverse identities. With the guidance and training from the consultant, these trainees will be equipped with the knowledge and resources to deliver workshops to partners, employers, and other local groups through 2022-2023. And a training manual will also be developed to allow more local JEDI trainers to deliver workshop across the region. Last month on April 21st, we had employer roundtable discussing the challenges and best practices they had while hiring new immigrants and how to retain them. And there's a need felt to have more discussion and resources, and more specifically a platform where all employers can share their good and bad experiences. Apart from it, making Grey County more visible and welcoming, we have developed one marketing campaign with a tone of inclusivity, positivity, encouragement, and aspirationality, which we are hoping to run down after May. That's all for GBLIT.
That's all, Topeka. Oh my, the work that you are doing is so important, and your report is so extensive. Thank you so much. May I ask you, you mentioned Ukrainian families. Do we have some that have come into our region? Are you able to tell us how many?
Yes, so we have settlement services involved in this, because that's the first point of contact. We being GB LIB is like the indirect services. We cannot be the first point of contact, but we do have the platform where we can share the resources. So we have Settlement, our partner council member, which are sharing and giving us continuous updates that we have a pool of volunteers who are ready to host Ukrainian families, and few our partner council member, which is in GTA, Newcomer Center of Peel, they have also indicated that a couple of families probably will be coming. And yesterday only Jacinda got confirmation that one of the family has moved to town of Blue Mountains and have got the job as well there. So we don't have the specific number right now because they are in process of coming here to, but we do have the potential here to accommodate them here, as we have volunteers who are ready to host them.
That is really wonderful. Are there any other questions or comments for Topeka today? And Heather says, no, not at this time. Topeka, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And moving on to D, Climate Change Action Plan, Going Green and Gray. And we have the two reports in our agenda, and I'm sure everyone has read them through. They are, I'm going to say, magnificently done. Do we have Linda with us today, and is there anything she would like to add in relation to these reports?
Hello, thank you. Yes. So just to share that, as was mentioned by the chair, that these first climate change action plan for Grey County was adopted in late April, and we're very excited about it. We think it lays out a strong path to achieve the net zero greenhouse gas emission target that Council adopted by 2050, which puts us in line with the federal commitments and really signals Grey County's commitment to take the kind of bold action needed in response to our rapidly changing climate. A couple of additional things just to share. We do have, and this is where I'm hoping this is going to work on the screen, and maybe it isn't, but we've created some small postcards which link to the Grey County Climate Action webpage. And we'd be thrilled if anyone sees an opportunity to distribute these. We have a page set up where residents and businesses can link both to a 20-odd page summary document of the plan, and also for those really interested, the more fulsome 120-page sort of robust analysis of how we landed on the recommendations. And to connect this climate action work, I think, to the conversations today, I think we all know that we need to take climate action because it's the right thing to do. But one of the reasons it's the right thing to do is because of the economic opportunities that it will bring to us, both in terms of investment attraction and for our existing businesses. A survey in the fall of 2021 identified that 69% of Ontarians think that governments need to be doing more relating to climate change. And so when people are thinking about a place they want to make home, we know that they will be looking at whether or not that community is taking the climate crisis seriously and responding to it. Similarly, the Ontario Chamber of Commerce did a survey of their membership last year, and the majority of respondents said that they felt climate change was affecting the communities that they operate in. And certainly for our businesses, there was a conversation earlier around broadband internet being necessary for us to be able to attract investment. Having infrastructure that is ready for our changing climate is equally important. And also making sure we're doing our part to reduce our contribution to climate change. So certainly if there's any specific questions around the report, we're more than happy to respond to them, but we look forward to working with all of you and with all of our local businesses because it really is an olive community plan to move forward with the direction from County Council.
Thank you, Linda. And I would like to say that our County Council, I think, has been very bold in suggesting of moving to a net zero by 2045 and the ordering of the electric trucks. I think we're off to a good start and setting the example for our communities. So thank you for that, and thank you to staff for supporting and making those recommendations to Council. Councillor Body has his hand up.
And there is another plank in our value proposition.
Well said. Well said. Are there any other hands, Heather?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And just to finish, Linda, I would like some postcards. Be happy to get those distributed out around Meaford.
Fantastic.
Okay. And the official plan amendment number 11 update. Randy, over to you.
I think Scott's going to provide a quick update on this, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, Randy, and thanks, Chair Keaveney and members of the committee. So I think when we met last time on February 9th, we had just recently had our public meeting on what we're calling official plan amendment number 11. And just as a very quick refresher, this is an official plan amendment to look at updating our growth, population and employment numbers, which ties in very nicely with some of the themes we've heard here today. And it's also looking at fine tuning some of our policies. There's been some adjustments made to the affordable housing policies and recognizing other types of housing units. There's also been some adjustments made with respect to climate change and starting to enact some of the very early recommendations of the climate change action plan that Linda just spoke about. And then there are a number of other housekeeping changes. We are looking at preparing a finalized version of the amendment based on the feedback we've heard over the past few months. There have also been some changes here locally that have caused us to look at reconsidering a few things and adding to the scope. One of those changes is based very heavily on the local growth climate and the recent passing of the minister's zoning orders in Southgate and in Dundalk. So we're looking at incorporating some of the minister's direction in that regard, working with our friends, of course, at the Township of Southgate. So long story short, we really do hope to have an updated version of the official plan amendment within the next 1 to 2 months for both the public, municipalities, businesses, and ultimately county council to consider. Certainly happy to take any questions if there are any, but it's just a quick update at this time.
Thank you, Scott. Does anyone have any questions for Scott at this point in time? No. Well, Scott, I just want to add how thoroughly you are addressing this and how much it's appreciated the time you're taking to make sure that the public and council and everyone has an opportunity to participate in this process. So looking forward to the end report. Thank you. We will move on to F, the Age-Friendly Community Strategy and Action Plan. And who do we have to speak to that today?
Stephanie's going to provide an update on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, just a bit of a brief update. Some of you that were part of this committee, thank you again for participating through the consultation process to create the Age-Friendly Community Strategy and Action Plan at the county. Your input was really valuable, and I'm happy to say that it did make its way into the final action plan. The action plan has roughly 116 different action items. There's about 15 to 20 that are specific to economic development. However, I would argue that if you're looking to carry out all of those action items, they would have several positive spin-offs in some respect to economic development specifically. And yeah, just to give you a bit of an example of some of the ones that came through from this group and otherwise looking to create a Grey County Age-Friendly Community Advisory Committee. So that would be connecting all municipalities throughout the county and ensuring ongoing discussions are occurring with respect to age-friendly community development. We also had a recommendation for an age-friendly community toolkit for businesses. And so this would help businesses further become aware and understand what they could do in terms of the physical changes, as well as social changes to accommodate age-friendly objectives and initiatives. We also had an initiative here, an action item speaking to late career opportunities and or accessibility needs. So looking at diversifying employment options for those that may be looking to scale back a bit in their employment if they're getting to a certain age and they just don't want to work full time, for example, if their physical abilities aren't such that they were before, in order for them to carry out what they had previously done in terms of their employment. And so, yeah, I guess just a bit of a brief snapshot of what we've incorporated through this action plan. And in terms of next steps, we are looking to proceed with an application with the World Health Organization to receive an age-friendly community designation, which is something that we can do at this stage with the completed reports, action item and action plan and strategy. And so that's underway and hoping to have that completed in the next couple of months. And so that would be maybe another ticket into or token into the Grey County hat of economic development and promoting us on a world stage. As well, just looking to create a work plan for incorporating and implementing this plan in the next year.
Thank you, Stephanie, and may I say another incredible report for Grey County. And Councillor Body, shall we suggest another unique value proposition? Yes, and I think this discussion proves that everything does tie in with economic development. So it's all so very appropriate to be on our agenda today. Are there any questions or comments for Stephanie? Not at this point in time. Stephanie, thank you very, very much for adding this report today. And just before we wrap up the meeting today, is there anything anyone else wants to add at this point in time that they've thought of throughout the meeting? Any final comments? Not at this point in time. Thank you. And the next meeting date to be determined. So we will hear about that. And if there's nothing else today, then I will call for adjournment. Is there a mover to adjourn? Oh, Councillor Body, and is there a seconder?
I see Councillor Woodbury.
Thank you, Councillor Woodbury. And I just want to again thank everybody for the really great discussion today. I enjoyed this meeting very much, and I think we had a lot of really appropriate and important comments for the strategy that we've heard today for international investment. So thanks to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Get out in the sunshine. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.